All right, these are some notes for section 1-2. Again, you should be adding these to your spiral notebook, and you can use that on your test. So section 1-2 has quite a bit of information. We're talking about order of operations, and an abbreviation for order of operations is PEMDAS. So PEMDAS stands for parentheses, and then exponents. And then you will do multiplying and dividing. And when you do all the multiplying and dividing, you work that left to right. And then you will do addition and subtraction. And again, you'll do that left to right. So just keep that in mind as you're doing order of operations. So amortization is a type of loan, and those are loans that have monthly payments, and the monthly payment, as you pay the monthly payment, it will be decreasing the amount of the principal each month. So you, towards the middle or end of the semester, will be creating amortization charts that you'll see that happening. So one of the things that you have to do to calculate amortization is calculate a monthly payment. So this is a very complicated looking formula for monthly payment, and we're going to do a few examples of those. Okay, so I have 3 examples here. So the first one, you have a principal of $12,000. That's how much you borrowed. You have an annual percentage rate of 12%. You have a monthly payment. In other words, your end value is monthly. In other words, you're paying every single month. And T is for 5 years. So that means that you're going to be paying on this loan for 60 payments because you're going to pay 12 times a year for 5 years. So when you put this all into your calculator, you're putting it into the formula. You've got the $12,000 times the 0.12 divided by 12. And then you've got 1 minus 1 plus 0.12 divided by 12. Close your parentheses. All of that's raised to the negative 12 times 5. So monthly is 12. So when I calculate the top, 12,000 times 0.12 divided by 12, I get 120. When I calculate, to do my order of operations, I'm going to calculate the part in the parentheses first. So that comes out to be 1.01. I also went ahead and calculated 12 times 5, and that's where I got negative 60. So my next step was to subtract these two, my next step was to raise the 1.01 to the 60th power. And so I got 120 on top, and then 1 minus 0.55044. And it was quite a long decimal, but that's part of it. So again, I'm going to do the denominator first. So 1 minus 0.55044 comes out to be 0.44955, and then I take the 120 and divide it by that, and I get 266.93. So that's my monthly payment. So what that means is that I borrowed $12,000. I agreed to a 12% interest rate. I agreed to make monthly payments. And I agreed to pay for 5 years. So that means I'll have to pay back $266.93 a month. If I wanted to find out, I could take that $266.93 and I could take my calculator and I could take the $266.93 and I could multiply it by 60 payments. So that means I'm actually paying back $15,015.80. Well, I only borrowed $12,000, so that tells me that I'm paying $4,000 in interest. So that's something to think about as we progress. Okay, here's my next example. So I have 15,000 times 0.10 divided by 26. Okay, so biweekly is 26. Okay. So on this one, I end up with a lot of decimal places. So in order to get the most exact answer possible, I need to keep as many decimal places as possible. And sometimes it's a little bit tedious, but that's the best thing to do. So it comes out to be, the numerator comes out to be 57.69230769. I like to try and keep as many of that as much of that as possible. I'm doing my parentheses next, and I end up with 1.003846,154, and the 26 times 5 is 130. So when I do this numerator part, and I did it all in one step because of all my decimals, I have 1 minus this, and I end up with 0.3928873,619. That's what I have in my denominator. And I'm going to do the 57 divided by that, and I get a monthly payment, excuse me, not a monthly payment. I get a bi-weekly payment of $146.84. So if I wanted to figure out that one, I could do the same thing, and I could say $146.84 times 130 payments. I just want to make sure I was looking at the right number. Means I'm paying back $19,089.20. Okay, so I borrowed $15,000, I'm paying back $19,000. So again, I have about $4,000 in interest. And then here's my third example if you want to try it on your own, and you can check and see if you get the same answer I did. I ended up with $363.84. Okay. Another type of problem that we do in this section is just simply solving equations. That means I'm trying to find the value that I can substitute in for k to make this expression true. So we do that by first getting rid of parentheses. So there's our order of operations which says do the parentheses first. The parentheses first. So I'm going to do my parentheses. I'm going to multiply the 3 times the k and the 3 times the 1. And I end up with 3k plus 3 plus the 2k that's already there equals, that looks like a minus, equals 13. And then my next step would be to combine like terms. So I'm going to combine the 3 and the 2 together and get 5k plus the 3 that's already there equals 13. Now remember, when we're solving equations, we're trying to balance it. So we want to get the 3 over to the other side. We want the k to be by itself. So to do that, since this is plus 3, my opposite operation is to subtract 3 from both sides. So I end up with 5k equals 10. And then I want to divide both sides by 5. Divide by 5. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. And 10 divided by 5 is 2. So that means that if I substituted 2 into this equation for all the values of k, I would end up with an answer of 13. Here's one that's a little bit different. I have variables or values on both sides of the equation. So I either need to get this 10 over here with the 7, or I need to get the 7 over with the 10. The way that I've worked it out, I decided to move the 10 to the left. So to do that, since it's plus 10, I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. And then 7 minus 10 is negative 3. The 3 I haven't done anything with, and the negative 5 I haven't done anything with. So my next step is going to be to subtract 3 from both sides, just like I did up above. So I end up with negative 3 equals negative 8. And then I'm going to divide both sides by the negative 3. And so I end up with positive 8 over 3. So my solution to that problem would be positive 8/3. You don't want to round that off. You don't want to make it a decimal. You want to leave it as a fraction. So the last thing that we do is we're going to be writing equations for problems. So some of the key words that you're going to see are like the words sum and more than and plus and added to and increased by all mean addition. Minus, take away, less than, subtracted from, that all means subtraction. Times, multiplied by, of is a very important one. Of, twice, product, those all mean multiply. Divide would be quotient, divided by, or ratio. Very, very important to remember that. Ratios are dividing. And anytime you see the word is, that means equals. So these are some things that we're going to be dealing with as the time goes along. So on the same lines as the formula, so let's say I had a spreadsheet and I had my principal in the cell, which is B2, and I had my annual percentage rate in cell C2, and my period in cell D2, and my years in cell E2. I could write a formula here to calculate the monthly payment. So we talk about that down here. So if you look at this, our monthly payment is this formula that we were just using on the front. So if P is my principal and it's in cell B2, then everywhere that there's a P, I would replace it with B2. Annual percentage rate is in C2, so wherever I have annual percentage rate, I'm going to put C2. Now the way that Excel works is if something has a percent sign with it, it automatically will write it as a 0.12 or a 0.13, so you don't have to change that decimal. D2 is my end value. Now my parentheses are critical here because if I don't put the parentheses correct, then my order of operations won't be followed correctly. To do a power, we use a symbol called a caret symbol. And again, I've got my parentheses in here for each of my cells. So I've got to make sure that I've got those parentheses in there in order for this to work. And so what I would do is in cell F2, up here where the payment is, F2, I would type this formula, and I would type equals, and then parentheses B2 times, this is how we do times, C2 divided by D2, and then I would divide all that with the parentheses and everything, and it would be 1 minus 1 plus C2 divided by D2, close my parentheses, the caret symbol, the negative sign, and then it would be D2 times E2. So I hope this helps you with section 2.